Today is indeed a day when the National Human Rights Commission feels fulfilled. I want to welcome you to this ceremony, which for us is an epoch-making event. When we started this journey, a lot of people did not believe that there will come this day when Nigerians whose rights have been violated and came crying to this commission will be made to find succor. We are holding this event as a sign of reassurance that the Human Rights Commission is committed to promoting and protecting the rights of Nigerians, that we are determined to change the narrative that there cannot be impunity in this country forever. We are holding this ceremony to underline the fact that there must be accountability for human rights violations, and that if there is a violation, there will be a remedy. And the Commission is ready and willing to bring succor to Nigerians, to provide remedy where their rights have been violated. And in that way, we think we can contribute to reducing conflict in the society. Nigeria today seems fragmented by conflicts, which we attribute to issues of human rights violations and injustice that have not been settled over the years. So today marks one of the days where we have begun the journey to restore the dignity of man, to underline the fact, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which says we are all born equal in dignity and in rights, and to underline most international treaties to fulfill Nigeria's obligation that the government of Nigeria has a duty to respect, fulfill, and uphold the rights of both Nigerians and non-Nigerians living in Nigeria. So today, what we're about to hold here is to compensate those whose rights have been violated, as have been identified by the Independent Investigative Panel on Human Rights Violations, police brutality, torture, and other human rights violations that has happened in recent times. So I want to welcome us all, and please join us in re-emphasizing the fact that the promotion and protection of the rights of all Nigerians needs the cooperation of all. It needs the cooperation of all of us. It needs the cooperation of law enforcement agents. It needs the cooperation of Parliament. It needs the cooperation of the executive. It needs the cooperation of the judiciary. It needs the cooperation of civil society. It needs the cooperation of development partners. It needs the cooperation of businesses. This task should not be left to the National Human Rights Commission alone. We all have a stake to make sure that we protect the dignity of man. Injury or injustice to one Nigerian is injury and justice and injustice to all. We all owe a duty to make sure that nobody suffers injustice in this country. And if there is any injustice, will also all owe a duty to make sure that there is remedy. Today, the panel, headed by my Lord Justice Suleiman Galadima, retired Justice of the Supreme Court, and the members of the panel have found that these Nigerians have suffered human rights violations. Therefore, if they have suffered human rights violations, they must get remedy. So I want to thank all of us for coming. I want to welcome all of us to this ceremony, and we say, God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
I cannot enumerate further. I cannot say more. I said to recognize first and foremost some of my members of the panel that are with me on the high table, and particularly to the Executive Secretary, the hardworking, indefatigable, calm, cool, and calculated, who always takes advice and builds on the advice. He's a man that Nigeria is looking for, and there are very few of such people. I also appreciate the work of the Secretary, Mr. Hilary Obodna, another very hardworking, extremely hardworking, who has the love of this country at heart. Time was when he wanted to check out, I said, you are not going anywhere. You are not going back to the United Nations, you must work with us. Even if it's just for this assignment, you must finish it before you go. Because he worked so hard, occasionally he collapsed, and he will come back to the office and work. He never closes before 10 o'clock every day. He came to me with a document late yesterday around 11, and his vehicle broke down at the gate of my house. I didn't know he was there till 12:30, trying to fix his car. These are Nigerians that we are looking for. I want to thank you, my member, Dr. Tete Njigarba. Other members are not here, but I really thank them very much. And then the man who doubles, he works here, but he's always with me. It's Tijani Muhammad. I want to thank you. I want to thank those who are invited here this morning, and then the victims, or the relations of the victims who are here. It has not been easy really working here. You can see when the counsel, the lawyers, get up and insult and embarrass and annoy the panel, we remain calm. And I said, we've seen this all. Let us go slowly with them. Let us go, gently with them, because we must achieve that objective for which this panel is set up. Today, I'm really glad, extremely glad, that since the establishment of the Commission, it has been creating an enabling environment for extrajudicial recognition, promotion, and enforcement of all rights recognized and enshrined in the Constitution of 1999 as amended and under other laws of the land. The inauguration of the panel of the 21st of October 2020 is aimed at achieving some of the objectives of the Commission. The event of today is to urgently implement part of the panel recommendation. But for the avoidance of doubt, this is not the comprehensive report of the panel. This is not the final report of the panel. This is just a small portion of the report. because of the urgency of the matter of the victims who have suffered, like the Secretary has said, that's which, at least to help, and create a sukkah, something that can at least help. But you cannot replace life. You cannot replace those limbs that have been lost and parts of the body that have been brutally lost. The event of today is to urgently implement part of the panel recommendation. For the avoidance of doubt, like I said, this is not the comprehensive report. The final and comprehensive report is being put up together. The Commission and indeed the government has commendably adopted and partially complied with portion of the report which focused on immediate need to assist and provide victims and relations of deceased victims. For this bold step, we say congratulations to National Human Rights Commission and the federal government and the various state governments that have started implementing the report of the panel set up in various states. You recall Lagos, Delta, Rivers, Cross River, and a few have started implementing, and we are really, impressed. But we still urge that other states should follow suit and start implementing those panels that have submitted their final report. Soon our report will be coming. The payment award of compensation, the monetary, is just part of the report, part of our recommendation. It is our hope and desire that other recommendations beside this monetary compensation will be urgently looked into and be implemented by the Commission, the federal government, and governments of the states that set up this panel. I want to see this opportunity to thank you for honoring our invitation. I won't take a long time because there's a program ahead. I really appreciate all of you that have really honored this invitation. Thank you very much.
Distinguished personalities, ladies and gentlemen, the workaholic panel secretary, Mr. Hilary Ogona.
Distinguished members of the panel who are seated at the high table, our petitioners, and all of you who have brought us here today. It's really nice to see all of you in this kind of circumstances. That is not the sitting of the panel. And it really is gratifying that we can see in this kind of circumstances, no tears, no pressure. I want to thank my Lord for the kind words. And I also want to thank the Executive Secretary for the privilege to serve my country. I'm just going to take you through what we have done so far. And like you said, no one else can give you this. And we want to serve it to you so that you are able to see where we are coming from. A lot of work still remains undone. For those who are here today for their compensation, this doesn't concern you anymore. And we say to the glory of God that we are able to sort your cases out. But there are still hundreds of Nigerians who up till now do not have any hope for justice, except, of course, something is done by the government. As you all know, our panel is one of the many that was created as a result of the End SARS protests when the youths of this country decided to speak up for themselves. And the National Economic Council and the National Human Rights Commission rose to the occasion. And it is with gratitude to the Executive Secretary that we have this panel established. And this panel, 9-member panel drawn from the judiciary, the bar, civil society, government, and youth. The panel had its inaugural sitting in November 2020. And I must tell you this, that at some point, the panel had to suspend sitting due to logistic reasons. As you know by now, there were a lot of funding challenges to the panel. So when you calculate the lifespan of the panel, I always tell people that this is a 5-month-old panel, because we had 7 months of no activity. And that's why we are paying compensation today after more than 1 year. But my Lord and members kept faith, and it is to their faith that we are all standing here today. Permit me to take you through the petitions we received. We received a total of 297 petitions from across 29 states in Nigeria, including the Federal Capital Territory, which has the highest. Of these petitions, we had the following dominant subject matters: illegal arrest and detention, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, extrajudicial killing, and non-payment of judgment debts and awards. Graphically speaking, this is what we have. The top 10 states that sent petition to us, Abuja remains the highest with 123 cases, followed by Delta and Lagos and Anambra in that order. Why some of them chose to send their petitions to Abuja is what we are yet to unravel, but this is a Human Rights Commission. Even without the National Executive Council setting up panels, this is the home of panels. This place receives petitions 24 hours, 365 days in a year. So we are not surprised, and we did not turn any petitioner back. Nobody was turned back to go to his or her own state. Those few petitioners that elected to go back to their state did so out of reasons best known to them, but largely as a result of the logistics to pursue their cases from to Abuja from their various locations. In terms of geopolitical zone, the North Central leads, obviously, because of Abuja, but we also had the South-South and the Southeast following in that order. In terms of subject matters, unfortunately, and I must say unfortunately, we have cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, and this is where we have torture. This is where we have torture and other issues embedded. So we have 71 cases around the issue of cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. And this is the highest, followed by violation of the right to life, which is extrajudicial killings. We also have enforced disappearance, which is 13 in number. So when you add enforced disappearance and you add extrajudicial killing, 64 plus 13, you would get the total number of the kind of lives we have lost and the petitioners that came before us. Despite these challenges, my Lord and members of the panel were able to do 50% of the cases we received. In a nutshell, we have concluded 144 cases, and then the rest we have not even touched. Why we clap hands and why we rejoice, and indeed we have every reason to rejoice, there are still 150 or plus Nigerians who are yet knocking on our doors demanding for justice, and really, they are citizens and they deserve justice. Now, for the cases we have concluded, these are the divisions. We have concluded 43 cases on extrajudicial killings, 57 on unlawful arrest and detention, and 46 on torture, cruel and inhuman and degrading treatment. Other numbers that you need to know include the fact that we have 25 cases that were struck out. And when we say struck out, this could have been as a result of so many. issues. And if you have been attending the panel, you would know that cases could be struck out for so many reasons. But my Lord and the members are very accommodating. Accommodating even to the extent that some cases we adjourn up to 5 times, just to make sure that the petitioners come before us and present their cases. But as you know, in law, every matter has to come to an end. And it's either that parties pursue it to the conclusion, or the court in its own would end it for them. So that was what we did in some of those cases. We have 12 cases that were withdrawn for many reasons. Some of the petitioners claimed that they were under duress. Some claimed that they couldn't pursue it. At that point, we did not have funding for legal aid to help people to fund petitioners to come to Abuja, and likewise. Over the last couple of months, 2 months or so, we started doing that even with our meager resources. We established some little funds that, with the kind permission of the Executive Secretary, we were able to be bringing people from Rivers, from Delta, from Anambra, from Lagos. At some point, we were even made to pay for policemen who came to defend their cases, but whose cases could not come up on that day, but were adjourned to the next day. We have to give them accommodation so that they stay over in Abuja, as my Lord ordered us to do. But finally, in spite of all of this, the panel has reached decision in 75 cases, 20 of which has brought us here today. And these 20 are the ones that the Commission has approved compensation for. And I want to underline the word commission, because we are here gathered today out of the acknowledgement by the Commission that it has a mandate. It has a mandate to promote, to protect human rights. And in addition to that, the act establishing the Commission went further to even mandate it to determine compensation that can be paid to victims of human rights violation, and to ensure that they are paid. So what we are witnessing today is not that the federal government has given funds to the Commission to do this kind of thing. We are still expecting that federal government does that, and we are still filled with hope. But what we are witnessing today is as a result of the Commission's own recognition that its mandate allows it to pay compensation. And from its fund, the Commission has graciously approved the recommendation of the panel. And that is what we are doing today. The Commission did not vary any of these recommendations, but the Commission adopted all the recommendations as my Lord and panel members gave to it. Who are we awarding today? We are awarding 20 petitioners, 7 of whom are victims of extrajudicial killing and enforced disappearances. 5 are victims of torture, inhuman and degrading treatment. 5 are victims of illegal arrest and prolonged detention. 3 are victims of either confiscation of properties, threat to life, mixed with illegal arrest, prolonged detention, and what have you. But we just decided to disaggregate it so that you will understand. They were not picked in any order, so that you wouldn't say that, how did we pick? So I want to anticipate all the questions, and I am answering them. They were not picked in any order. The first conference that the panel had, conference is when the panel meets to determine cases. After they must have heard the petitions in the panel, they would adjourn for conference. So the first conference looked at 3 cases. All those 3 cases are here. And that conference took place in March. The second conference determined 9 petitions. All those petitions are here. The third conference determined 18 petitions. All of them, no, not all of them. We picked the first 2. They are here. So you have the first conference, the second conference, and a bit of the third conference. So when we get funding next, we will take the remaining of the third conference, and then the fourth conference, and the 5th conference. The panel had its 4th and 5th conference on Monday and Tuesday this week. And both conferences determined, made decision in about 38 cases. So it was a very interesting but yet very stressful week for the panel. And that's why you see a lot of them have traveled. But my Lord and these members you see are still here today. And we will give you more information on this as when you want them. So today, I would want to stop here for now so that we can really do the business that brought us here today, and which is the business of compensation. We are not going to do it the way they have been listed, like I told you, from the conferences. So we'll be calling on you really understand more what we are doing here today. We have determined the number of cases that I have just earlier mentioned, but it is important that you understand that this is not the end. My Lord kept mentioning about a report. This is just one out of the 3 layers of justice we expect for the victims of human rights violations. The first layer is the institutional justice. This is where the Nigerian Police Force and the Police Service Commission would look at our report and determine those policemen that would be facing disciplinary action in terms of the police, the way the police and the Police Service Commission are mandated to do them. What about accountability? There is an accountability. So that's institutional. The next one is prosecutorial. After the police had taken care of their own level, the next level is the Attorney General's office that would be prosecuting these policemen and bringing them before the courts of law. And it will interest you to know that some of our petitions, police was already prosecuting them in court. But the fact that they were being prosecuted in court still does not take away the fact of civil remedy, which is the 3rd one, and which is compensation. So the monetary compensation we are going to be awarding today is just one out of 3 layered justice. And we hope that you understand and you communicate this to your neighbors, to your friends, and to your relations, that this is not the end. We are not giving you bribe. It is what you deserve. We wish we can give you more, but this is the commission doing its best. And I think the point had been made earlier yesterday when I spoke to some of you. No amount of money will bring back the dead. No amount of money would erase the fact that you have been unjustly treated, that you have gone through some horrendous experience in the hands of people who were supposed to protect you. What we are doing today is a symbolic gesture for you to recognize that there is still justice. Justice does not wipe away memories. What justice does is to assure you that you are in a civilized society, a society ruled by law, not by men. And I hope that this point should not be lost in all of us as we undertake this solemn ceremony. My Lord, Mr. Executive Secretary, I don't know if we are ready. Okay, so I would start with the first awardee for today, ABJ 01, our first petition. Mr. Bello Akubuoku is represented here today by his wife, and we are deeply grateful for your presence, and we hope that you would send our warm regards to Mr. Akubuoku, who is not here because he is very, very sick. I personally spoke to Mr. Akubuoku 2 days ago, and he is still suffering from the aftermath of what he has been through. But as Nigerians, we are all strong and we continue to hope for the best. Who is coming with the checks? Mr. Bello suffered an accidental gunshot from the Nigerian police during one of the protests in Abuja. And for other things he suffered, the panel has awarded him ₦500,000 naira, and we hope that this would go a long way in assuring him of the fact that there is justice.
Thank you very much.
So somebody should get it for me. Mr. E.S., you remain standing there so that we have the next one. And today, the panel has awarded him the sum of 3 million naira.
Thank you.
Awarded him this amount of money due to his special circumstances, and we really hope that this is understood. Mr. Executive Secretary, sir.
Mr. Zara, I want to thank you because I know you stood firm to pursue your rights despite all odds. When I go through your case, tears come to my eyes, but this is an opportunity to tell other Nigerians that once your right is violated, you must insist on getting a remedy. You must insist on getting a remedy. And the journey to getting a remedy is not always easy. But if you persist to the end, surely remedy will come. This is a clear example of somebody who stood despite the challenges he has faced. And today, at least, this is some succor. Yes, it will not solve all your problems, but at least you know today that we stand with you and your family, and we say sorry for this human rights violation that has happened to you. Please take heart. Thank you.
For Ms. Anita Akapson. Ms. Anita Akapson is ABJ 9, alleged extrajudicial killing. A young girl who was a victim of accidental discharge by the police, who has been so far captured by her mom. The police tried to assist, but at the end of the day, we discovered he couldn't help the family. So in this case, the panel ordered for an extraordinary measure for the commission to set up a trust fund. And this trust fund is to enable Ms. Ajibo, who has been out of school ever since, to go back to school. Her mother, who has been having problems with her business, to start business. And then a little trust fund that would be kept for the family, especially to ensure that this little girl is able to achieve her dreams, to be whoever she wants to be in Nigeria. And this is also part of where the ESC statement about calling on other well-meaning Nigerians to help to contribute to some of this compensation, I want to re-echo again. So to favor Ajibo, the Human Rights Commission is setting up a trust fund of 5 million naira. Yes, your mom can come with you.
The young lady is, we want to apologize for what has happened to you, ma'am, and the members of your family. This trust fund is a sign of our commitment, because we believe that where there is a wrong, there must be a remedy. And we have structured it in such a way that it can really, from now onwards, uplift your family in such a way that it can go to a reasonable extent to wipe away the tears of what has happened in this case, so that this young lady can still realize her full potential and become the Nigerian that she wants to be. I will thank God for this panel, headed by the Justice of the Supreme Court. And if they have looked at the case and they feel proper. I don't think anybody in this country can doubt what they have done. So it's on that note that we say, please, sorry for what has happened to you, and please accept this as a token of our solidarity with you.
And the panel looked at it critically, very critically, and have decided to award them jointly 3 million naira as funeral expenses for the 6 people that were killed. And I would like to mention the names of the 6 victims for the record. Ifeanyi Ozo, Chinedu Meniru, Augustine Arebu, Anthony Wokike, Paulinus Obona, and Ekene Isaac Mbe. Representatives of these families, please can you come up and receive this token from the National Human Rights Commission. I want to emphasize again that this is to take care of the funeral expenditure which was included but was not given. And this was what the panel decided.
Mr. Dulu, on behalf of the Commission as well as the IIPS panel, we truly are in solidarity with you, and we apologize for any human rights violation that has been meted out to you. And therefore, we present this to you as a token of the Commission's commitment to violations of human rights abuses in the country. So this is what the IIPS investigation panel has decided to award to you. We therefore commiserate with you and hope that this will assuage your feelings whenever that happens. Thank you.
The panel, even though one would actually wish for a job in another place. But the Learned Counsel to one of our petitioners has raised some very important issue. And I would like to address that very well. I want to thank you for coming. And it really shows diligence of counsel to continue to pursue the interest of his client anywhere. And I want to thank you for raising this. We have about five cases like his that the panel has ordered for the release of corpses. You would have thought that to release corpses would just be a no-brainer. But in this case, we are finding it difficult for police to obey such orders. And in his case, we have given out orders serially. We have given orders to the police serially. And police has not obeyed that order. Even though the panel has stopped sitting from last week, and even though we still have these 140-something cases hanging, cases like his, the Secretariat continue to pursue it and continue to work with the police on that. So I'm assuring you that after this meeting, you would join me in the office, and we are still going to not only write again today, but we are going to detail one of our senior lawyers on this case today and tomorrow. I actually thought that they've released the corpse. We have another case where we ordered for the release of corpse. The victims went to the mortuary, and the mortuary gave them a bill of over 2 million naira, which is the bill for keeping the corpse for almost 5 years. So these are some of the challenges we have encountered, and there was a slide which was on challenges, but I said to myself, today should not be about us. Today should be about these victims that are here today. So for those of you who will get my presentation, you will see the slide on challenges, and it's not something we are hiding. One of the biggest challenges is the inability of police to respect the orders of the panel. And even when the IG says, do this, you still see police officers who refuses to carry it out. So it's an endemic problem, and I stand here to say it is a problem. Every Nigerian should be concerned about the way we flout orders of judicial and constitutional bodies in this country. And this is just a good example of it. So Learned Council would still discuss on this, and we will still see what we can do before government shuts down this year. We are not shutting down, but we will see all is necessary that we can do to assist you. Total amount of compensation given is 146 million. That's the total amount. 146 million naira, not dollars. How many victims were compensated today? 20. 20 petitions. 20 petitions. But in terms of victims, now you begin to count the consolidated ones. We have 4 consolidated petition compensation today. There are post 6. There are 6 of them. So that makes it now 25 victims. Tesu and Mr. Fair, there are 2, so you now make it 26. The Agoris are 2, you now make it 27. So in total, we have 27 victims, but 20 petitions. I hope you understand the disparity. Why were they varied? Some 10, some 15. This is where we now talk in law, the justice of the case. And most times, this justice of the case does not have an explanation. It is the discretion and the demeanor of the people who were giving that award at that time. But for some of them, it was considered the severity upon which the human rights violation occurred. The case of, where are my memory banks now? I will talk about Agori, the man from Kaduna that, Idehe. The case of Idehe was severe. He was taken all the way from Kaduna. He suffered torture, and he died in custody. He was dragged on the road. There are so many things we really do not want to say. Some of us have gone through a lot of psychological healings before now, and we really don't want to go back talking about these cases again. But please, just know that it is the justice of the case. It wasn't about bias. It wasn't about any issues. If you leave me, I would open the floodgates of the central bank upon the victims. But unfortunately, we need to do things in an ordered fashion, especially when the money is not a designated money from the government. This is the Commission's budget. And the Commission is National Human Rights Commission for the 36 states. You know, and now we are giving you are giving 146 million to 20 victims or 27 victims. You also need to consider the operations of the Commission all over the country. And the Commission is very much cash-strapped. But we are grateful to the management of the Commission. Not just that this 146 million has been approved, but the swiftness with which we are getting things done, for me, is something that needs to be commended. And we wish that every other petition that has gone through conference and has been concluded, we now have about 45 that we need to be compensated now. 45 that needs to be compensated. So some people heard that we are compensating, and they'll be calling on the phone. Why didn't I get this phone call? And to those people, I want to reach out through your medium that you are going to get that phone call, but not now. Aposis, is this a judgment sum? Has the case finally died? Aposis, as you said, has been a recurring on the face of this country. There was a judicial panel of inquiry headed by Justice Goodluck. There also was a criminal prosecution of all the policemen. Some were found guilty, some were discharged and acquitted. I am not here to comment on the judgment of a court of law. But the Judicial Panel of Inquiry talked about payment of funeral expenditure. That was never paid. But they were paid some compensation. All the families were paid some compensation. Whether it was adequate or not, we are not sitting over judgment over that. So we just extracted that one. You know, when you come to the House of Human Rights, we begin to look at, is it in the head that it happened to you? Is it in the leg? We must try and find out. For somebody to come to this house, it means something must have happened. And it is for us to find out and then the person to prove it. So we think that they are worthy of the expenses. It may not be what it's worth today, that it was worth then, but the truth is that every case deserves its justice. And we hope that that is the end for Aposis. And we really hope so. And we have documents that parties are signing that they would accept that this is the end. Because to every litigation, there must also be an end. I think that is it in all of your questions. Did I skip any? Oh, trust fund for the Ajibos. Like I said in my commentary on that, it is what we call in human rights extraordinary measures. It is not in the books, but it has to be done because it is justice. We wish we could have done more for the family, and we are calling upon Nigerians who are well-meaning and who have the resources to support the Ajibos. You could do that directly, or you could do that through this trust fund. Because what we are looking for the young girl is from her current educational state up till university and even postgraduate level. We want to see from this young girl from adversity to huge success. And some of us are committed personally to it. Her case is very simple. There was a gunshot and it affected her. I don't want to go into the details, but she's a victim of gunshot wound. And there was attempts to hush it down, but when that attempt failed, police tried their own best to assist the victims, but it was just a drop in the ocean. And the commission sent them back again to the police to see if the police could do more, but the police couldn't do more. So when they came before the panel looked at the justice of the case, and the panel said, even if you award this family, this woman and her child, 1 billion naira, you may not even know how it will be used. You may not even know how, it will be handed over to. We didn't know their circumstances. But just based on the testimony of the mother that her business has been affected, she doesn't have any source of income. The child has been withdrawn from school because of the fact that she falls sick all the time as a result of the treatment of that wound. So we said two things are paramount. The child has to go back to school. She's a Nigerian girl. She's entitled to every protection under the law and every privilege government accords its citizen.
Well, to me, it's a mixed feeling. I feel quite emotional, and having from 2017 up to this point, it has lingered, and through this panel, we've come to the conclusion of the end of the matter. So it's a mixed feeling for me. Mixed feeling in the sense that I was actually anticipating something. Of course, there's nothing that would have been given to me that would compensate for the loss of a leg, which is a fact. And but looking at the amount the panel has given, I mean, 5 million naira. My hospital expenses was about 3 million naira, and giving me 5 million naira as compensation, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I also need a prosthetic limb to continue my life. So how do I be able to run around all this with the 5 million naira? On the other hand, I still thank the panel. It's better than nothing. At least for them to have taken a bold step to see that people like me get compensated. I still appreciate them for that. I was shot by a police officer, Daniel Akpabio, on the 18th of October 2017, barely few months after my wedding. and the gunshot led to the amputation of my leg. So we've gone through several means, written to the Inspector General of Police, written to the then Senate President as of 2017, asking for justice to what has happened to me. So when this panel was set up last year, we wrote to the panel, and the panel deemed me fit today to give justice, as it were, to the petition that was written to them in 2020.